If you've ever felt icky about the idea of becoming filthy rich, but at the same time, you absolutely do want to become financially abundant for you and your family, or maybe you've struggled with the belief that wealth means sacrificing your happiness, your health, or your values, and you'd love to make money in a way that feels expansive, heartfelt, and good, then this video was made for you. Because today we're diving into some of the most powerful and often unusual money mindset beliefs that feel good to your soul, that align with your heart, and that let you make money without guilt, without sacrifice, and without burning out. I'm so thrilled to introduce you to my dear friend, Chloe Hakim-Moore, who is a Forbes 30 under 30 entrepreneur, a TEDx speaker, and an 8-figure powerhouse, who's not only created wealth, but has built it with the kind of balance and inner peace that most people don't even realize is possible. In this conversation, Chloe is going to walk us through 3 principles that she teaches her clients to create lasting wealth from the inside out. And let me tell you, they're not your typical wealth building tips. These are the beliefs that only the most balanced, heart-centered, successful people in the world live by. And if you've ever felt that nervous energy around making big money, this conversation will melt those outdated money lies away and help you to feel completely safe in your nervous system to build the abundant life that you deserve. And make sure to stick around till the very end of this video, because every second is going to be packed with unmissable information, as well as a special bonus waiting for you at the end. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Chloe, it's so great to have you back for a second video. Hi.
Yes, it's great to be back.
By the way, those of you who maybe didn't see the previous video, Chloe and I had an epic conversation where she shared with us, amongst many other incredible things, the 4 principles to building wealth in a way that allows you to have a balanced life without burning out and all that jazz. So if you want to listen to that conversation, I highly recommend it. We will put it above, below, wherever you can click. And today, I'm so excited, Chloe, that we get to talk about money mindset, which is a huge thing that I know that people who are part of my community are aware of and working on. Many of them are working on this. So who better to bring onto the channel than someone like you, where I know you've experienced the extremes. It's not like you were born into wealth, but you've been able to change generational patterns, shift your money mindset, I'm sure, multiple times along the way, because it's not just a one moment thing, right?
Yeah, so I would say that when it comes to money mindset and building wealth, I see them as 2 things. So with money mindset, it is how we believe money moves through the world and through our lives, what power it holds, and how we define it, right? I think wealth building is something even larger. And I like starting conversations around money and wealth this way because I think it helps people see just how much they already have. And that for me, wealth is multi-tiered, right? So you've got, of course, financial wealth, but you also have the wealth of your health, the wealth of the quality of your relationships, the wealth of your time on this one precious earth that we've got, and other resources in your life that maybe aren't financial. Maybe there's skills you have, right? Maybe there's wealth around like the culture that you embody or that flows through your veins. So to me, wealth building is this kind of comprehensive view of how do I create the most abundant, healthy, safe, plentiful experience and existence in this life for myself and across humanity as a whole. So for myself, my family, my communities, the world, and our environment. So to me, the ultimate form of wealth looks like well-being and safety and joy and expression and plentifulness for everyone. Wonderful. And within that, I believe that money is a tool that can allow us to get there. And so in today's conversation, I want to talk about money mindset within this larger frame of what can we make possible in this lifetime. So, you know, when I think about money mindset, the initial thing I'm thinking through is what stories are at your table inside. So when we think about the stories we have inside, there are multiple voices and actors that contribute to the messaging we decide is true, right? And for a very long time, I had the money mindset of money is the root of all evil, coming from religion. I had that business people are greedy, coming from communities where people were chronically underpaid, or, you know, like we saw hoarding, right? And so I saw messages from community or even family that people who are wealthy must have done so by hoarding and thus causing harm, right? And so I had these messages, and even myself, when we didn't have much financial wealth, I also used the coping mechanism of somehow feeling like our path was the noble one, right? We worked hard, we loved hard, we prioritized what mattered in our space, which was like our health, our culture, our family, like those kinds of connections, and just wrote off money as something that other people do who don't have their priorities in order, right? And when I got to the point, and I referenced this in the last video, so y'all really should watch it, but when I got to the point of realizing that my very first superhero in this life, my grandpa, was going to pass, we were in a financial place where we couldn't afford a funeral without serious like debt or trying to figure it out, right? We didn't have the cash to afford a funeral. And so I knew that if he were to pass like very soon, we would be not even able to hold our grief because we'd be trying to find money. And so that had me start to think, you know, money can't be the root of all evil if it can also grant us the space to honor a loved one in their transition. Money can't be the root of all evil if it's required to put a roof over our heads and good food on our tables, right? So I started to question that money mindset that I had been raised into and that I had ingested from social media, national news, wherever I was getting my information from. And I asked myself, when have I seen money used for good, right? And funny enough, I thought about my family. Even though we didn't have a lot of financial wealth, my parents would give to other people who needed more than we did. And I thought of just those small moments of community, of care, of love, where money made a difference, right? Or times where money eased stress for people that I loved. And so I thought, well, if it's true that money can, yes, fuel the worst of our human impulses, like violence, greed, war, all of those things, it can also enable the best of our impulses, right? Like think about all the times you've seen something charitable that made your heart just leap, right? Think of the times that someone was made safe, or some like I love the videos where it's like coworkers came together at this diner and saved up and pitched in and bought one of their colleagues a car because they were taking the bus and it was so long. And it's like these moments of care can also be made stronger and better because of money. Yeah. And it really came to me when, and I said this in the last video, when I did a thought exercise with a group of community leaders, and I asked them, you know, if you had to solve homelessness today, how would you do it? Everybody's scrambling, talking about who they'd call, what they would enlist, what grant they would write, boom, boom, boom. And then I asked the same question and said, if you were going to solve homelessness and you woke up with $1 billion in your bank account, what would you do? And the answer was so much simpler. It was just pay for good social care, so like that people could get any kind of rehabilitation they needed, and buy them a home. Buy them a home and provide them a job. It was very much, let me just give and be generous and make sure people are safe. There was so much less struggle in achieving the same goal when there was money. And so this led me to my current belief, which is that money is neither good nor bad. In fact, money throughout all of history even looks different, right? For certain cultures, cowrie shells in certain African cultures were used as currency. Jade beads have been used as currency, right? Different kinds of spices have been used as currency. Paper has been used as currency. Now we've got plastic cards, and we've got like crypto used as currency, right? So it's not the physical, tangible thing. It's not the dollar. It's what value we assign to it. And so to me, money is an amplifier of human behavior. So if you are set up to live in scarcity and to prioritize things like greed or violence, or like you are using or avoiding certain inner pains and trying to create all the power and hold all the power you can to avoid inner pains, when money comes, you're just going to amplify those same tendencies of like hold really tight, try to hoard things, right? Maybe even cause harm to others. That's not because you have money. That's because you have certain things inside, and now the power of resources amplifies it. Mm-hmm. On the flip side, when there's so much data around that says when women get more money, they're more generous, right? And I'm not just saying that like when men get more money, they wreak havoc. I'm not saying that at all, right? Mm-hmm. But when you just see studies that show when certain people who are conditioned in certain ways get money, then in general, you can start to see trends, right? And so when I think about people like you who are watching, or you, Lucie, I can't imagine better people to have more money, right? People who would like, you know, retire their parents or solve a challenge in their communities, or, you know, be able to afford whatever schooling and life opportunity for their kids or chosen family that they'd want, right? When I think about how I want to build and apply my wealth, I want it to be so that my family can have the choice in this lifetime to figure out who they are outside of the pressures of capitalism's equation of you need to work to survive and then have some playtime with what's left over. Financial wealth gives you a consent-driven life, not a like obligation-driven life, meaning when you have all of your necessities taken care of, everything on top of that is choice. If you didn't have the pressure of bills and you knew you would financially be set forever, who would you be? What would you try? What would you see? Those are the questions I want people to have the opportunity to answer.
To define wealth, first of all, as being different to only being financially rich is huge, because having whole life success is the key to being balanced and happy and truly successful. And having a bunch of money is part of that equation too. Like, let's not make it a bad thing. Let's not demonize money. The stories that we kind of were fed, that we regurgitate these concepts of money being a bad thing. When I observe people saying these kinds of things, I also then see them contradicting themselves a minute later, because it never really adds up or makes sense. We hate it, but we want it. It's a bad thing, but we need it. We talk badly of people who have it, but then at the same time we wish that we could do X, Y, or Z.
Of course.
So that creates misalignment already. That creates confusion within the body, within the mind. So what we're doing right now, and this is what I love to do, is take the limiting belief from sometimes when it's so close to your eyes, right? It's blocking everything. It's changing the way you see everything, but you also can't see it clearly. Then when you extract it and hold it like in front of you, or write it out, or hold it in the palm of your hand in your imagination, all of a sudden you can kind of see it for what it is. And oftentimes that's when you realize it's bogus, or, you know, it doesn't have to be true for us. So absolutely, you're ringing on my bells, and often what we talk about on the channel is, you know, what are the stories that go round in our heads? What is the story that that's controlling the outcomes that we're creating, that we're allowing ourselves to receive? And the first step is identifying them. Then we can shift them, change them, let them go, start seeing life show up for us completely differently. So now let's look at, what are the money mindset principles that you teach your clients, that you live by, that maybe people here might not have heard before?
Just on what you were talking about, I think so often when we see people contradict themselves, or we're sensing contradiction, I think they have incomplete stories. And so they might see very wealthy people doing things that cause harm, and then associate the wealth with the thing that has caused harm, right? And so I think, for example, my first principle is there is no wealth without health, right? And when I think about health, it's holistic health, meaning, you know, your spiritual health, your physical body, your mental and emotional well-being, and your social relationships, right? The whole picture of what a human needs to be well. money is a vehicle to help you have better health, right? And I was actually even given this reminder by a mentor of mine this past week when I was in a place of scarcity, right? And one of her guidance pieces to me was, well, think about all the areas you have abundance.
Yes.
And as soon as I started taking inventory, I realized, oh my goodness, I see things flourishing everywhere, right? And this one small thing that had me activated, like you said, was getting right up in here that, it wasn't the full story. And so when I am teaching my clients, I call them the fellows, when I'm teaching the fellows about building wealth, one of the first things I teach them is how to recognize what is wealth and how to look at which pieces of your wealth story are you maybe discrediting, maybe not inviting to the table, maybe you're seeing incorrectly, or maybe even you're looking at someone else's highlight of their story and extrapolating all this additional meaning that's there that you are projecting and making up, that there's no way for you to actually confirm.
Yeah, they must be this, they must be that, when in actual fact we don't know.
Yeah, I'm trained as an anthropologist and sociologist, which I think is funny because it comes up only if I bring it up. But the reason I say this is because research methods is a huge part of my training, because there's a difference between something causing something else versus something being correlated with something else. In the data space, it's like the difference between causation and correlation, right? And I think a lot of times when we see the behaviors of wealthy people, the perception, the highlight reel, we might see them acting out of maybe spiritual wounds, but misappropriately saying that the money is what's causing this wounded behavior. And I think if we could take a beat and look at stories and say, we don't know what's causing what. Maybe someone's buying all these designer bags and they're showing all this online and they're actually going through a painful separation. And that is their way of coping. You preach this so beautifully, or teach this rather, that you can create anything. Any version of wealth you want, you can create it. So if you want the wealth where you also embody the values of the most kind, compassionate, humble, down-to-earth person, that's absolutely for you, right? And you have the vision and the seed inside because it is for you. You can make it happen. And I just really encourage anyone listening and the fellows to not let old stories, even the stories that we have clung to limit what we can create. So the first principle is that there is no wealth without health. And the piece that I want to make super clear about the health piece is that your quality of life matters so much more than the number in your bank account. However, the number in your bank account can support you having the quality of life that you do deserve, right? Like, I think one of the big things for me is the wealthier I got, the healthier I got, because I could afford good health care. Like, I could afford going to specialists in a reasonable time frame that allowed me to get in-depth testing to figure out that I had things like a gut infection, right? Going through my old healthcare, which I did have healthcare, right? But I didn't have the access to the top doctors. They didn't find that for years. And so I had depression much longer than I think I needed to because I didn't have access to the right doctors, which again, money unlocked for me.
Right.
So that's a bit of a round the way story to explain that to me, health and wealth are tied, but your quality of life is the thing that matters. And money, when handled well, can be a vehicle that allows you to have the quality of life that you really crave.
I think we've also got to remind ourselves of the fact that there are, we could say, good and bad people, or healed and still wounded people.
Yeah.
At every income level.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, it's
huge. And
huge.
that's something that's like, we have to remind our brain of that sometimes. Like, money makes you more of who you are. Money amplifies the actions that you already make. And especially if, and I know that you advocate this as well, building wealth while healing yourself, building wealth with the strategies of business while doing the inner work. Just imagine a world where there's more people tapping into those higher wealth brackets who have gone through the process of healing themselves along the way, breaking generational patterns along the way, feeling safe within their body along the way, rather than driving their way to success, running away from trauma, avoiding wounds that they don't want to look at, distracting themselves from their emotions by just working harder. More people becoming wealthy in that healed, grounded way.
Yeah.
Wow. Those people are the ones who are going to change the world.
Money is important. Money is consequential, right? Money can be a vehicle for us to have the health, the time, the connections, the safety, all the things we want, right? But it is a vehicle. It is not the destination. It's also not the solution to all kinds of challenges, right? And so when I think about the ways that people will want to chase money to avoid the pains inside of things that they cannot control. For me, for example, when I used to have what I call an achievement complex, where for me it was I would chase achievement thinking that if I showed up and was told that I was good enough, it would heal the wounds that I had from religion around if you're not perfect, you go to hell and fire and brimstone, you're separated from your family for all eternity, right? So I was chasing achievement, trying to prove that I was good enough, but the pain was always there, right? There was no amount of achieving that would satiate that pain. It was only when I had to look at the wound coming from religion and rework that story and rework my thoughts of life and death that actually solved it. So granted, I'm so proud of the achievements I did when I was doing that. This was mostly in my time in university. I'm so proud of her, right? I'm so grateful that she was putting in so much effort and she cared so beautifully, right? Yeah. And because I've done so much inner work, I realized she was trying to bring the wrong tools to, again, the right kind of problem. So for anyone listening, I think that as you pursue your wealth goals, make them as big and ambitious as you possibly can imagine, but remember that they are not the solution for internal wounds, right? That has to be work that's done in parallel but separately for you to actually not only achieve the money milestone, but to be healthy and well enough to enjoy it when you've got it.
So well said. So a couple of exercises that people can actually do inspired by this conversation. The first exercise we can do is write a lengthy list of all of the ways in which you are abundantly resourced right now, like exactly as you are at this point in your life. Write that list of all of the ways, all of the people, all of the connections, all of the little and big blessings in your life, all of the support systems, the job that pays the bills, for example, all of these ways in which you're abundantly resourced. Because what this does is it helps shift the mind out of lack and out of living in the identity that I'm not who I want to be, I'm not there yet, I'm this failure and I'm not the success that I want. Instead, it starts helping us to shift the way that we feel about ourselves presently. And then the subconscious mind can do amazing work from there to go, okay, we focus on resources, opportunities, abundance, and then we see more of it and we attract more of it. We find more of it mentally through our subconscious mind. The second exercise is to dreamscape about, okay, transport yourself to that time where you have more than enough money, all of your needs are met, all your family's needs are met, you're living where you want to live, you're safe, you're stable, the debts are paid, and there's still more, and there's still more, and there's still more, and there's still more. And you're at a point where you've got enough cash invested in things and stuff, your money's making you money. You're just living off the cream off the top. What are you going to spend your money on? What causes or people are you going to financially support? Because all is well, like it's not going to run out. It's not even going to run out because you're just creaming the top off, right? There's none of this, what if I drain the account? What if I lose it all? That's not part of this reality that we are brainstorming about. Yeah. And when I think about that, so many beautiful ideas come. For me, one of the things that always comes first to my mind is buying a big piece of farmland around the area in Spain where I live and creating a beautiful animal sanctuary. And, retired animals who've worked hard during their sweet animal lives and, farm animals that don't have to be farm animals anymore, and dogs and cats and, all animals welcome. Oh, that would just be such a wonderful thing that I would use the money for, you know? As well as, of course, you know, thinking about children, godchildren, parents, family, everyone. And I think that exercise is another great demonstration to the human mind, to your brain, that you having lots of money can allow you to express what's in your heart even more so. And connects you to it in a positive way, where like money equals good, money equals beautiful experience. It's a powerful exercise for being able to shift it more than just going, okay, I'm going to say a new affirmation that money is good, money is good, money is good. You know, when it becomes, when you exercise your brain to actually experience the possibilities of money being good, then you feel it in your body and can create that shift.
What I love so much about that exercise is that you have to create a vision that's big enough that it rattles every atom of who you are into what can be possible, right? And I think what I see most often when I'm working with folks around money mindset is that the abundant side, it sounds good and they're so on board, but it's not enough to get them over the potential for judgment and shame that they've got tucked away in the back. And we have to create such big, beautiful visions that it is so compelling to the soul of who we are that we get over the potential for shame or judgment, right? Because the mission is so much larger than any individual's opinion, right? And for me, it was getting to a place of wanting to have a personal wealth of $100 million plus so that I could solve homelessness in my city of Memphis, the home I was raised in, the city I was raised in. And as a fun fact, it's actually cheaper to house people and give them social support than to keep incarcerating people or putting them in jail for like just being on the street. So it's actually even cheaper. I'm gonna go ahead and throw that out there. But when I like really got into it and did the math, I was like, I could solve this with a tiny homes community where like build people houses, supply them with jobs, get them social services so that they can like be there and then become homeowners from an act of compassion, right? And an act of like true understanding that any of us could be that homeless person, right? Any of us could be like a couple crises away from being like experiencing that. And I remember there was someone who was experiencing homelessness because her husband had cancer. She went through every penny she had to get him the best care, and he still passed away, and she lost everything, literally everything, material and her husband. So she became homeless, and people were looking at her with such like almost, you know, this judgment and this certain air, not knowing that this woman had given her everything for the love of her life. And it's like we don't know people's stories. So all that said, like when you think about the nonprofits or not-for-profits that inspire you, they take money. Like they require money to do the things. And so like building an animal sanctuary for the animals who have worked so hard that, you know, deserve some love and care, that's such a compelling vision. Like it lights my tummy on fire. Like I feel the warmth like at the very root, right? And having a vision like solving homelessness for a city is so compelling to me that it's like, well, what if people think I'm a bad person for making money? Girl, no, they won't. Right? Like if you have that much money and you're out here caring for animals, caring for people, helping people through hardship.
I mean, the haters who think bad things about people anyway, they're going to think that about you regardless, whether you're making that money or not. So
yeah. You
may as well have the money.
you may as well live the fullness of your life because they will project regardless.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Love that. I love your vision as well. And also, let's talk for a second about your track history of the fact that the 2 8-figure businesses that you built from zero were non-profits in children's education reform, or I mean,
that's it.
Yeah.
Oh, Lucie, actually, you might make me cry. I wasn't expecting that. Like that connection, I think actually gets me a little emotional. I think I wanted from like my deepest heart's desire, I wanted families in my city to not have such a hard go at it as mine did. my parents sacrificed so much so that we could have the best education possible. Like, they already didn't have, like, we didn't have the financial wealth because we were so first generation to a lot of things. However, the best educations, even the public ones, required us to live in zip codes that were just so much more pricey than others. And again, this is free public education. So, I mean, they sacrificed so much and had so much stress in doing it. And all they wanted was for us to be able to go to college well, right? That was their entire ambition for decades. And so when I thought about them and other families in my community who had a very similar story, I wanted just for it to be easier. And so, you know, the work I did around raising about $250 million total for early childhood education in the city was so that more families could have access, first of all, access so that it was more affordable, it was higher quality, and it was safe, right? And so what we did was do a whole lot of research, build two separate business plans, really rooted, the first one on how do we support the thousands of childcare centers that already exist to improve their safety, their quality, and the affordability, right? And then within the, and also services for folks who are like in prenatal care all the way through 8 years old. That's the first nonprofit. It's like, how do we support the entire family, the multi-generational family from prenatal through 8 years old? Then the second nonprofit was focused on specifically how do we improve the quality, affordability, safety, and just overall viability of childcare, right? Because childcare in the U.S., I want to call it a racket, but let's just say it's one of the most important time periods of like education and social emotional learning in every human's life.
Absolutely.
And there are things that little ones need to experience and to have in order to have the most optimal holistic development, right? And the way that it is handled right now in the US is really haphazard, and it's left to basically private businesses for the most part, and families' abilities to just like be able to afford it, right? To either afford to stay home or afford to send their children to care or whatever.
Yeah, not just in the US.
Yeah. And so, you know, a lot of the childcare businesses, right, are doing everything they can to steward such a sacred obligation, and yet they have to keep their rates so low that families can afford it, that they can't afford to pay their teachers more, they can't afford to buy better quality ingredients of food. Like it just crunches everyone. And so we thought, what if we could show up as a tandem partner to the childcare centers, like basically infuse cash into their businesses as well as quality, like additional trainings and supports. And yeah, all of the programs did so much better. All of the families had better access to care. We even had resources to help families, whether like who wanted to go back to school, who wanted to get better jobs, who maybe needed support keeping their lights on that month. Like we had a pool for parents who needed additional resource support, and it wasn't alone. It was just like, yep, we've got it, right? So we had social workers who could be a partner to the families and get them resources that they needed so that their kid could show up. Because if a parent has no transportation, their kid can't get to the program and the parent can't get to work. So if we can solve the transportation issue in the home, everyone's literal life trajectory is so much better.
Yeah.
Parent keeps job, kid gets to be in school. So yeah, more money did those things for people. Like more money helped people that we worked with avoid being evicted or losing their home because they were late for like a month's rent because the paid cycle just had them tight for a week. So we are able to bridge the gap for families in like every area of their lives with just a little more resource support. So yeah, that also helped me with my money mindset around like more money can be really healing for whole communities. And I've seen it firsthand.
Are you able to calculate any like scale of how many people that served, or since you founded the company through to now, like,
yeah,
can you even fathom that?
That's a good question. I know in our first 18 months, we were serving 2,000 families and 40 schools. So we got to support, 40 different schools. So that's 40 independent businesses, and then support 2,000 families, which represents maybe anywhere from like, the family numbers were anywhere from like 2 all the way up to, who knows, like a lot. like 16 maybe, right? So the 2,000 families total, I know that much, in the first 18 months. And since then, they've continued to keep expanding, which is, again, really, really meaningful. And that's for one of the nonprofits. The other services the entire county. So they don't serve every single family in the county because they're still growing, but their impact is across the whole county, which for us is like the city plus its surrounding suburbs.
Thank you so much for expanding on, you know, what goes into it, because it's impressive and catchy to talk about, you know, this amount of money raised and, you know, the Forbes 30 under 30, and those things you truly deserve to be acknowledged for those things. But I'm also so glad we've had the chance to look into like, well, you know, what does that mean? What did that actually...
what does that turn into?
And I think it's so great just for our brains to be listening, you know, to the vast amount of good, positive impact that can be made with wealth. Oh, I'm so glad that example has been, you know, thank you. It's incredible.
Yeah. Thank you for asking. It's actually the thing I prefer to talk about. Like the Forbes 30 under 30 is great. The number amount is great. I really only use it so that people understand that I am very much a results oriented person.
Sure.
And because there's just a lot of chatter online of people who, we've talked about this, and I want to be gentle with how I say it. But there are a lot of people who just like to show flashy things, or maybe even like inflate things that honestly aren't true or accurate so that they can drive sales. And I like to say these things because they are verifiable. You can go Google them. You can like you can go find the information independent of social media, and it's things people recognize, right? So it's a helpful starting point of conversations. But the big deal for me was, like, I'll never forget the letters I got from parents, or the, you know, like we helped one parent who had a domestic violence situation happen. Like when she brought her child to school, we could tell she had been abused. And so we were able to, with our staff, get her out of that situation, get her to a hotel for a couple weeks, set her up with her own rental apartment, get her child and her out of that situation safely, and keep the kid in school, and get the mom a job at the hotel she had been staying at for a couple weeks. And we were able to completely change the environment for her and her child. And it's like, those are the things that money and good training can do, right? For people who are in really dire situations. So yeah, that's definitely the thing that I find the most meaningful, is like, what is the impact of the actions?
Yeah, that's what it's all about, and that's what's possible. Amazing. So should we dive into the next core principle?
Yeah, I think there are two more. One, I feel like we kind of have hit on, which is there is no true winning if your people aren't better off. And I'll wrap us up with that one, but I'll talk really quickly about the second, which is there is no health without true wealth. And I think it ties into the work that I was doing too. Like, there is no well-being in poverty. And for the people who are maybe still a little hesitant about like, oh, I don't know if having all the money like actually is what I want, I'm still nervous about it. And maybe you have this internalized sense of poverty equals nobility, or like poverty, like we've seen so often the vow of poverty being like held as noble or put on a pedestal, or like the spiritual leaders of our time disavowing money, right? Or not all of them, but some of them. And I think that there's a difference between an intentional vow to be amaterialistic, right? Like an intentional vow to say, I will not deal with materials of the world, right? Versus being in poverty. They're not the same. And the difference is choice, right? The choice to take a vow of not being materialistic is different than living paycheck to paycheck, right? It's different than being in poverty, right? And as someone who lived in poverty, I can tell you that the stress alone related to not being able to afford your basic necessities, or the stress of living paycheck to paycheck and being on edge that what happens if a crisis happens and I can't afford my basic necessities, there's no well-being in that because of the stress alone. And even, you know, as we've been thinking about, you know, for me, preparing my body for pregnancy, there are things that help me get into my optimal state that are not considered traditional healthcare, right? And so even if I had, like, even with having the top healthcare, there are additional things that I need in order to prepare my mind, body, and spirit for pregnancy that are very much health things that are not covered or even recognized in our traditional health systems. So there are ways that even our most advanced medical systems don't factor in for everything you need to be a healthy and well balanced person who's thriving, not just surviving. Like, a lot of the data around what's required for your annual health is rooted in what are your survival numbers, not what will equip you to flourish, right? So to me, health, your optimal health does require more money. It really does. And that, like, caring for the health span and the lifespan of you and your people, and health span meaning how many healthy years you have, lifespan meaning how many years do you have, right? Like, caring for the health span and lifespan of you and your people requires more money, right? And to kind of tie it back to the first principle, like, there's no wealth without health, the quality of life, the energy you have on a daily basis, the clarity of your mind, the peace in your body and in your spirit, those things being intact and having the resources to make sure your environment and your ingredients and your experiences all feed into that, not just that you have this good quality of life despite your surroundings or what you have access to. We want both. We want them singing in harmony. We want you to have abundant health and abundant resources, right? So that you can be in your optimal health, your family can be in their optimal health, and then your community, you can start helping them, because at a certain point, you and your people have enough, right? Y'all will get to a point of y'all have enough plus some, right? So you can then step into, how can I help my community be healthier, right? Be safer, be a place of more opportunity, be a place that is environmentally healthier, right?
And I'm sensing that there will be quite a lot of people listening where so far, maybe this conversation has inspired a shift in ways of thinking, in ways that they define what's good and evil when it comes to money, health, wealth, success. We've spoken so much into that. And I'm also sensing that there's probably going to be a lot of people saying, okay, already, I agree. I agree that having more money will help me in these areas.
Yep.
But then there's the how piece. There's the how. How do we do that? And that's another reason why I wanted to collaborate with you on a couple of videos and partner up with you on this, because together we've got the inner work mindset piece, and then we've got your expertise on the how, the strategy, the business building, the business scaling, the doing it in a way that is balanced without burning out, the doing it in a way that's ethical, morally sound, that looks after your people, your team, your clients, your fellows in the most ethical of ways. And for those of you who don't know, Chloe's current business is that she helps other women turn what they're passionate about, what they're skilled at, what they have a flair for, into the most successful, thriving business that it could possibly be, because we need to know how, and we're not taught in school how. We're not taught in school how to take the thing that we are good at or passionate about and turn it into anything beyond perhaps a job, a career. But what if, and as we talked about this in the previous video, didn't we? Like, that same skill, that same service that someone can offer can be channeled into a different way that helps so many more people and brings that person so much more personal wealth that they deserve. A common problem that I know a lot of people struggle with, and I've struggled with this in the past, and still sometimes I struggle with it, is this thing we were taught about, like, if you want to receive, you got to give. But there's a lot of people out there who are giving, and when are they going to receive? Why is it not true that the more you give, the more you receive? Because there are a lot of people who are experiencing that not being true. And I think the missing piece is often just being taught how to structure the skills that you have, the services that you have to offer in a way where you can also receive for all of that impact, all of that value you're giving. I think now's a good time, right, to tell people about the free training that you're generously going to give everyone who's here. Do you want to explain what the training is?
I would love to. Yeah, I think the big gap between, people giving so much and receiving, it's ownership. It's ownership of the container in which you're putting effort. I have seen some of the most talented people work across careers, work so hard at jobs, and their pay stays steady, but their employer continues to get even more wealthy, right? And you can just imagine, if you have been paid by an employer 4, 5, or even 6 figures, you have to know that you're generating at least 5, 6, or 7 figures for the company, because that's how profit works. And a salary, what we take, or a wage, is basically what the employer has all of the profit and says, okay, I will give you this slice of it, and I'm going to keep the rest of the goodness you've created, right? It's not even an evil thing. It's not something that's bad or should be demonized. That is how profit works. However, I believe you deserve to keep the whole pie. That's my thesis. I believe that through entrepreneurship done well, and entrepreneurship that capitalizes on the massive opportunities we have right now with the digital age, you can create from your zone of genius a business that lights you up. That's the fullness of your passions, not just an okay job, right? You can have a business that allows you to spend your time the way you would spend your time on a daily basis if you already had all the wealth. You can live that life today, and you can be getting paid for it, and you can create a business that makes a real change and a real impact in people's lives. Like some of the clients from my work, since I have made this shift, I had one who told me very recently she signed a client that is going to pay her 6 figures, one client. And before she got into working with me, she was charging 4 figures. And it is this work that I have done that I get to lead from my place of passion that is equipping someone to have a client that's going to pay them 6 figures out of one of the projects, out of the many that they are able to do. Ownership is what allows me to have more impact, more money, and more alignment with my soul's purpose and how I spend my time on a daily basis. And so I am teaching exactly what we talked about today, which is the parallel work of ethical entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship that's from your genius zone, that is optimized to take advantage of the opportunities we have right now to build incredible wealth when you know how to do it, and also that allows you to make a real impact for other people. I pair that with holistic well-being, right? So looking at how do we get you performing like an elite athlete, right? That is also spiritually grounded, flourishing inside and out, etc. Those two things have to happen together, because remember, there is no health without wealth. There is no wealth without health. And when you can bring these two together to create good for you, your loved ones, and your community so everyone wins, that's where you've really gotten into the overall zone of how you create abundance. And so this training is going to teach you the A to Z for how you can create your version of this kind of business that lights you up, provides for your family, provides for your community, while also not burning you out. So all of my clients, I make sure that, or anybody that I have the pleasure of teaching, we have to make sure you're not working around the clock, because it will damage your health. So just imagine if you could make multi-6-figure business, have multi-6-figure months even, while working 30 hours a week or less. That would feel pretty good to a lot of people. And so I'm going to teach you exactly how to do just that and give you my entire playbook for how to do it on the training. And it's just for Lucie and her audience. So it's just for you watching here. It's because Lucie, has so much care in what she wants to see made real in your life, that we thought, if we combine our skill sets of all the inner work that she teaches with you guys day in and day out, and the kind of like tactical outer work that is my lane of expertise, bringing those together, there's nothing you won't be able to do inside or out. So the hope is that this training, in complement with all the gorgeous work you do here in the Life by Lucie community, equips you again to holistically live your life out loud in the way you deserve to, the way you dream of, the way you feel like called to do, and again, to have the tools to like turn it into results, not just, good inspiration.
Isn't she great? That's my friend. Isn't she great?
Thank you.
So,
and the training's free.
The training's
totally free. Yeah, y'all gotta show up. Please show up. And I think, a big thing is in the times where I have personally, I'll just admit, there are times where I haven't wanted to go to things even though they sound good because I'm nervous. Oh, well, what if I show up and I still can't do the thing? Or like, what if I show up and I don't get what I needed? Or what if I show up, and there's all sorts of mindset trash that I personally used to go through. And let me tell you this, I showed up to a thing one time and I got a soul sister and best friend out of it. And I was going to solve a business problem. That's how I met Lucie. And now she is like a core, like inner circle in my life. There's no like more inner circle that Lucie's not a part of. Right. And it came from me showing up. So I ask you to set the intention to come, to not let any mindset things hold you back, and to be open to all of the bonus goodies you might get as a result of you going to create this beautiful, abundant life and have more tools in your tool belt. What if you happen to make an incredible soul friend? Like my request is to come with the intention of being open to just receiving a lot.
Yeah, we were chatting about this before, weren't we, Chloe, about we don't want some women to kind of count themselves out or, think, oh, well, that's not for me because I couldn't do X, Y, Z or whatever it might be. If that's where your brain is going right now, girl, don't go there. Don't go there.
Don't go there.
Give yourself a chance.
We got you.
There's nothing to lose. And to make it even more enticing to show up, this is how much I just want everyone to actually tune into this training. I'm also going to give everyone who registers for Chloe's training a massive stack of my best manifestation workshops and everything like that. So sign up just for the free stack of manifestation workshops and come to the training as well. That's just, that's how important I think the combining of these two parts of the real work are.
Yeah. I have to be so honest, Luce. I don't think I fully realized you were going to give the stack of manifestations with the training. So I was trying to act all professional and be like, yeah, she is. I'm shook. That's incredible. Listen, y'all, the training's already so good. It is. The training's already incredible. It is, call it the nerd in me. It's so important for me to have trainings where you walk away with you're on fire and you have you get real results, but to have it paired with additional manifestation resources that are, Lucie's work is also top tier. So it's the fact that you would get so much out of a free session, y'all, please don't miss out on your blessing because you wanted to just chill and watch TV. Baby, Netflix don't got nothing on this. Okay. So you need to show up.
This is so true. This is so true.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I want the resources.
I'll sort you out. I'll hook you up. Don't worry. Just make sure you sign up for your training, then you'll get it.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go register right now. The link's in the description.
Yeah.
Let me go sign up for my own training so I get the resources. You think I'm playing? I want these resources too. You're going to see Chloe Hackamore has signed up for the training.
So,
yes, but yeah, okay, so the link is in the description.
Yeah.
Please sign up and know that the room does have a max capacity. So we've please sign up, save your seat, and add it to your calendar, right? So that you can show up, because I promise you, meet us halfway on this. It's not even halfway. All you have to do is show up. We're going to deliver on your behalf. So I'm personally so honored to get to share the training time with you when it does come up, and know that, yeah, Lucie has a stack of resources that are amazing bonuses. It almost feels disrespectful to just call them resources because they're life-changing materials, but we'll just call them resources for now.
For want of a better word.
Yeah.
So, were you going to touch upon the third and final one a little bit more?
Yeah. Yep. And I think, we've talked about this, but I firmly and deeply believe there is no true winning if your people don't win too, right?
Yeah.
And I think, it is my belief that we have this innate desire to be generous. I think humans, honestly, I think we're good. I know there's a lot of back and forth over centuries of like, are humans fundamentally good or evil? I think we're fundamentally good. And I believe that we have the craving to be helpful, to be of contribution, and to be generous. And I believe that when we have great wins and we see our life changing, etc., it's all great and well. But if our people aren't also winning too, I think we run the risk of feeling lonely, of feeling detached, of feeling disconnected, and honestly even feeling unsafe because our environment does not reflect the abundance that we're stepping into. So it might not even feel as sturdy. So from just a human perspective, there's a lot of benefit to honoring how we're naturally wired, which is communally, right? You will feel safer when you win in community. On the flip side, I believe humans are also very loving. I believe you who's watching this is a very loving individual. And for you to be able to show your love in ways that, when I say materially, I don't mean by you buying people things. I mean materially in the sense that if you can help other people's lives change because of the goodness of your hands, I think that it as a form of love, it as presence, it as quality time, it as acts of service, I think the more that you are able to build up the resources and the well-being in your own life, and live from such a place of overflow, not only do you inspire other people that it's possible, but from that overflow, other people may even be blessed because you tried, blessed because you did, blessed because you were. And what better testament to a life well lived than other people were better off because she existed. Like other people were better off because she said yes to the fire inside, right? Like what better testament to a life not taken for granted than for you to say, I don't know if I can, because I'm going to say it anyway, for you to say hell yeah, right, to who you are and who you're called to be. Yeah. And to create such an overflow that even your community's better off, right? You can imagine it this way from a system standpoint. When everybody's better off, everyone's safer. When everyone's safer, everyone's happier. When everyone's happier, everyone's less miserable. There's less depression. There's less violence. Like everything has a domino effect. And so the more you can create overflow in your own life, which is your step one, right? Like the big vision of changing community is important, but for right now, creating overflow inside and out in your own life is the best way you can honor this one version of this life you've been gifted. And then from that place of overflow, then go and support your family. And then go and support your community. So yeah, I do believe there's no complete winning without all of your people being better off. And I believe that the joy that is available to you when you prioritize overflow in your life and then overflow for those around you, that joy is unmatched. And I think in this lifetime, that's what we're looking for. We're looking to love, to be loved, to be of contribution, to experience joy, to experience celebration, to experience safety. And all of those things are made better by you and your people being in a heightened state of abundance.
Yeah. There's this Oprah quote that it echoes in my head. I've watched it so many times. The one where she says, some people said to me, oh, she's so full of herself. She's so full of herself. And then she's like, yes, I embrace it. I am full of myself. I'm full. I'm overflowing, right? My cup runneth over. And everybody gets to experience and enjoy the overflow of my fullness, of my full cup, of my full spirit. So it's just such a wonderful example of what that abundance in all areas can look like and feel like for not only you, but everyone around you. And if some people say, oh, she's so full of herself, oh, she's so successful, oh, she's so, just embrace it. Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am so full of myself and of wealth and all of these things.
I think is gorgeous too is the Plato's allegory of the cave, which is basically, I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but it's basically when you've been in darkness for a really long time, light hurts your eyes, but once you've seen the light, you can't forget it, right? And I think even if people do judge, or even if people whatever, it doesn't mean you should turn the light down just because their eyes hurt because they haven't seen it. It is purely a reflection of how much light they are used to and comfortable seeing, and it is their work to become accustomed to seeing light and turning theirs up. And I think there's a quote by Marianne Williamson that I also love. Not, look at us ping-ponging quotes, but I love it, where it's one that really helped me own my excellence, which was, to paraphrase it, when we shine our light, we give other people permission to do the same. And on the flip side, dimming our light helps no one. It doesn't help anybody, right? Dimming our light does not help anyone else find the shore, right? And so I think if I could encourage anyone, like, this is a time and a moment for you to turn your light all the way up. And there's work to do to equip you to do it, which is why we're having the training, right? But the more you turn your light all the way up, again, people get used to seeing that more is possible, better is available. You can be this beautifully balanced, wealthy, generous person who is humble and down to earth and so human and connected and aligned with the priorities that really matter. All of that's easily true. You just got to take your first steps to doing that work.
Thank you for being a living example of that, by the way.
Oh, thank you, girl. Same to you. Oh, I received that. I'm like, my ears hurt because I'm just like cheesing so hard. But thank you for that.
Well, yet again, this was another lengthy but important conversation. I was like, 20-minute video? 15?
I tried so hard this time. I really did. I tried to keep it brief.
But, why limit? Why limit the...
Yeah, why cut it off?
Exactly. And particularly, we had a little framework of what we were going to talk about in today's video. And then as you were talking, I was just like, let's go with that. Let's dive into that. And those are always the best things, I find, that, I think someone taught me, like, the key to being a good interviewer isn't just to stick to your notes and ask your questions, but to actually listen and go, I wasn't even expecting that to come up, but let's go with it, because that's what's meant to be shared today. Thank you for sharing so much value with us, for literally shifting people's energy and mindsets with regards to money and wealth and success. Comment below if you actually feel that there has been a shift in you, in how you feel, in how your body feels in terms of feeling safe to receive more money, in being able to look ahead and know that it's safe to look there. It's safe to go there. It's safe to become that version of you. And as we expand the bubble of what feels safe to us, we can then expand into that bubble and create more and receive more. And to be continued. I can't wait for the training. I'm going to be there taking notes. And let us know in the comments as well if you've registered, so that we can say hi and get excited about it together.
Please do.
And remember as well, when you register, you get a ton of manifestation workshops from me included, just to encourage you to show up for yourself. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you haven't done so already, make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring my bell so that you never miss another video. Until next time, bye.